Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. Jaded Blossom's February 2026 release is now available and it has a fun ladybug theme. Here's a quick look at the February release, and you can always save by purchasing the full release bundle. And if you are interested, I do have links in the description box below. So I'll start with the Fluttering By stamp set. This is currently not available for purchase individually. This is the freebie you'll receive if you purchase at least $50 worth of product, and one item must be from the new release. This is for a limited time and while supplies last. This release introduces a new gnome friend. Say hello to Ladybug. So we have the die set and also the Ladybug Faces stamp set. I love the fun variety of faces and expressions on the stamp set. But the die set also includes pieces for the eyes, nose, and mouth. So you have the option of the dies or the stamps for your ladybug face. There are 3 different background bodies for the ladybug. There's the one with the ladybug standing, 2 flying, one facing right and the other facing left. But the head pieces work for all 3 versions of the ladybugs. The die set also includes a pair of heart-shaped glasses, which look really cute on the ladybug, but you could also use those glasses with any of the gnome friends and the gnomes. Next up is the sentiment stamp set. This one's called Ladybug Kisses, and there is a coordinating outline die set. I love having the outline dies to cut out the sentiments. And as always, Jaded Blossom includes a fun variety of sentiments. There are birthday sentiments, love sentiments. My favorite is You're Spot On Amazing. Next up are 2 stitched card mat dies. I was so excited when I saw these were part of the release. There's a horizontal and a vertical version of the stitched hearts. Both dies will add a fun stitched heart detail all over the background. It'll also add that faux stitched frame around the outside, and it does cut out. Now these are not A2 size, they're a little bit smaller. This is an A2 size card base, so you can see it's just a little bit smaller. So when you cut out your paper or cardstock with the horizontal version, your panel will be 5 1/4 of an inch by 4 inches. And the same for the vertical, it would just be 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. The final die set that's included in the February release is an add-on for the Octagon Treat Boxes. This is the St. Patrick's Day add-on. I'll pull out all the dies so you can see everything that's included. Since this is an add-on set, you will need the original Octagon Treat Box, and that's sold separately. So with the St. Patrick's Day add-on set, you'll be able to create a leprechaun, a gnome, a rainbow going into some clouds, and also a rainbow going into a pot of gold. And here's a look at the original Octagon Treat Box die set. So there are 3 dies you use to create the treat box. You would cut out 2 of this large piece. The narrow strip on the right side would be the handle, and then there's an octagon that you can use for the frame. And if you're not into making treat boxes, the images from this set will still fit on an A2 size card. But it does help to have the stitched octagon shape piece from the original treat box set. So that's everything that's included in the February 2026 release. With the introduction of a new gnome friend, Jaded Blossom also has their MDF pieces for the ladybug. There are 2 different sets available. One has the hang tag ring and you'll get the standing ladybug and the ladybug flying. The other set has this little standing base, but it only includes the standing ladybug. Jaded Blossom's MDF pieces are super popular. They're so fun to use as decor. You can make little ornaments. They're great for gifts. And they line up perfectly with the gnome friend dies. For the ladybug that flies, the same MDF piece works. You just use the reverse side. I have a bunch of the cute gnomes and gnome friends on MDF pieces all over my craft room. Before I get into the cards using the new release, I wanted to show you some fun social media signs. I have two, one for my website, KristieMarcotte.com, and the other is my Instagram handle, Best Things in Life Are Pink. And you can order your own customized engraved sign from Idaho Custom Creations, and I do have them linked in the description box below. I love my signs, they're beautifully made, and the quality is amazing. I have several cards to share using the February release. I will be using some pattern paper for most of the cards. This is from Echo Park. It's their Little Ladybug collection. It's from several years ago, but it is still available, and I will have it linked in the description box below. And I have the papers and scraps stored in a fancy folio from the organized option. I have the 6x6 size. These are great. If you haven't completely finished a paper pad, you can safely store all your scraps in this little folder. And if you are interested, I also have that linked in the description box below. So let's go ahead and get started with card design number 1. I selected 2 pattern papers from the Little Ladybug collection. This beautiful red floral and green leaf design, and also a green and white gingham. I cut them diagonally about in the center, and I'm adding both of these pieces on some black cardstock. The 2 pattern paper pieces together are 4 inches by 5¼ inches, and the black cardstock is an additional 1/8 of an inch. 4 1/8 of an inch by 5 3/8 of an inch. For a little bit of separation and shine, I'll put a Love from Lizzie peel off between the 2 pattern papers. This is the pinstripe style in black. I'm using the medium width. Since I am covering up the very center with an image, I was able to use some of the small scrap pieces. After wrapping the ends around the back, I'll put adhesive on the back of this panel and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. I'll be adding the image on a stitched oval die cut. I used Jaded Blossom's stitched oval die along with their new vertical stitch hearts card mat die. So it has all these fun stitched hearts on the background. I'm adding the oval on a scallop oval die cut, and I use vellum for the scallop oval. After adhering the 2 together, I'll put glue on the back, but only behind the oval, not the vellum area, and I'll adhere it on the card. The blue cardstock piece will be the sky, so I'm adding a little grassy hill at the bottom of the oval. The grass die is from Jaded Blossom's mushroom die set, and I use the same stitched oval die so it'll match up perfectly with the blue oval. So now it's time to assemble one of the ladybugs, and I'll start with a standing ladybug. For the very background piece, I use black cardstock. You could use any color since it will be covered up. There's an individual die for the head with the antenna. I also use black cardstock for that. There's also a piece for the head without the antenna. I use a black cardstock for that. Before adding the ladybug's body, I'll attach the individual legs. And you could skip this step if you use black cardstock for that very background piece, but I like adding the extra die cut pieces. It gives more layers and detail to the finished image. For the ladybug's body, I use pink cardstock. I'll add that piece after the legs. Now I'll add the last black head piece. Next, I'll add the two sides of the body. This would be the top of the ladybug, the outside with the red and black spots. And then I use the same pink cardstock for the ladybug's abdomen. Jaded Blossom makes it so easy to assemble all their different images since they have that faux stitch detail and you know exactly where to add each piece. So on the spots of the ladybug, those red pieces have a faux stitch detail, so you know exactly where to add all 4 of the spots. For this ladybug, I'll be using the die cut pieces for the face. But if you want to add one of the stamped faces, this is the piece you would stamp. I'm using the same pink color that I use for the ladybug's abdomen. I'm pretty sure in real life, these pieces would be black on a ladybug, but then you wouldn't be able to see all the adorable detail. There are 2 different sets of antennae. One matches this background piece. The other have little hearts on the end, and I think that is adorable. So that's what I'm using for this ladybug. Glue on the back, line those up with the background antenna and adhere them in place. Instead of using the die cut eyes, this ladybug will be wearing the heart-shaped glasses. For the background solid piece, I use black glossy cardstock. And then for the frame, I use the same red shade that I use for the sides of the ladybug. I'll just glue those 2 pieces together, then add more glue on the back, adhere the sunglasses on the ladybug's face. It already looks adorable. For the nose, I use a slightly darker pink cardstock color, and this is a very small piece. I'll first add a tiny drop of Barely Art glue and pick up that piece using the wax tip end of Scrapbook.com's Craft Pro Pick tool. Now I'll add the mouth, and I use black cardstock for that piece. Next, I'll add the 4 spots. There are 2 larger spots and then 2 smaller spots. They go on the right and left side of the ladybug's body. And the same size spots will work on either the right or left side of the body. The less curved area on the spots goes on the very outside. And this is what I was mentioning earlier. There is that faux stitched area, so you know where to add the different spots. Next, I'll add the arms, and you could put these behind or you could put them in front and have the ladybug hold an item. I'm having the arms sort of reaching upward toward the sky. So I'll add that tiny bit of glue at the very bottom of the arm and then place the ladybug on top. I'll do the same thing for the other one, trying to get those arms evenly placed. And then the final step on the ladybug, there are individual hearts that you could add at the end of the antenna. I use the same red cardstock color. So I'll attach both of those hearts. So there's the ladybug all finished. I will be popping it up using some foam dimension, and just to save time on the video, I did it off screen and remove all the release paper. For a sentiment, I've already stamped and cut this out. Hey Lady. The ink color I use for this sentiment is Distress Oxide Fired Brick. Before adhering it down, I'm adding a scrap cardstock piece on the right and left side of the sentiment, and I'll be adding it at the very bottom of the oval. Now I'll put glue on the back, adhere the sentiment in place. Once the sentiment's on nice and straight, I'll add the ladybug above the sentiment standing in the grass. And for a little extra detail, I'll be adding 5 small leaves. I use a slightly lighter green cardstock color than the grass, and the leaves are from Jaded Blossom's Tree Swing die set. I'll add 2 leaves on the right side of the ladybug, another 2 on the left side, and 1 leaf I'm having the ladybug hold. I will put a small piece of foam behind half of that leaf, the area where it's not holding. And then a tiny bit of glue, the area where the leaf will be attached to the ladybug's hand. There are 3 different leaf shapes and sizes on the tree swing die set, so I cut out 2 sets. I'm only using 1 of the largest size and then 2 of the other sizes. Now I'll add those final 2 leaves on the left side. For a little bit of sparkle, I'm using a red glitter brush marker from scrapbook.com and adding it on the tiny hearts at the end of the antenna. So it'll have this lovely bit of sparkle. For a final finishing touch, I'm using a white pen and adding little polka dots on the ladybug's cheeks. This is the first time I've used this brand. I think it's called Posca. I used it on several cards off camera and I had no problems at all. But for some reason, when I was recording this video and adding those little tiny dots, they just disappeared. Not sure what went wrong. If you've ever tried this marker and the same things happened to you, let me know. I just thought it was very odd. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. Now moving on to card design number 2. This time I'm using the horizontal stitched heart card mat die, and I cut it out from some light blue cardstock. I'll be adding some trees, and those are from Jaded Blossom's Winter Scenic die set. This card will feature 1 of the flying ladybugs. I used the same cardstock colors as the previous ladybug, but the flying ladybugs, you do see some of the wings. So I have black cardstock for that very background piece. I'll add the head with the little antenna piece down next. Now I'll add the little red piece on the back of the ladybug. Then the individual black head piece. This one doesn't have the antenna. For the legs, I'm attaching just that individual front leg down. The other will go after I add the body. Next, I'll add the pink body piece. And then the wings. And I use some silver holographic paper from my stash for the wings, so it has this beautiful sparkle finish. Next, I'll add the ladybug's face, and I use 1 of the faces from the Ladybug Face stamp set. I've already stamped it out, and I did use a marker and color in the ladybug's nose. Now I'll add the final leg. So for this one, you'll see part of the leg in front of the body. I love the little antenna with the hearts, so I'm adding them again on this ladybug. Just line those up, adhere them in place. And then I use red cardstock for the little hearts at the end. Last year, Jaded Blossom released their Honeybee Gnome Friend, and it was a super popular release. I think the ladybug is just a tiny bit cuter, so I'm betting this will also be a very popular release. Of course, all of Jaded Blossom's gnome friends are very cute. So we need to add 1 more heart on the other antenna. Now on the ladybug's back, you can see the little stitch detail. This one has the area for the hearts. There's also an option for the circles and even one that's plain, so you could make it more of a beetle that doesn't have the spots. I'm continuing on with the hearts, but this time I use some black glitter cardstock for those 3 little spots. And the glitter cardstock is from Your Paper Insider. They have a rainbow set with non-shed glitter cardstock. The final step, the ladybug needs the arms. I'll put one behind the body and then the other will go in front. So there's the little ladybug all assembled, and I will put foam dimension on the back. Already removed the release paper. So now it's time to create my little sky scene for my flying ladybug. I'll start by adding 3 clouds. 2 will go on the left side, 1 will go on the right. And the very ends of all 3 hearts will go off the edge of this heart panel. The cloud dies are from Jaded Blossom's Rainbow Die Set. The two clouds on the left side will overlap just a tiny bit. And I'm gluing everything down on a cut down version of scrapbook.com's Project Grip Mat. This is a silicone mat. That way if I have a little bit of glue on those hang off areas of the die cut, it's easier to clean off the silicone mat than my gray craft mat. Next, I'll add some trees at the very bottom so it'll look like the ladybug is flying above the trees. I selected 3 different sizes of the trees. This set also includes the trunk, but you won't see that area. I'll add the smallest tree on the very right side, and then the 2 larger trees on the left side, and they will overlap just a tiny bit. So once I have the 3 clouds and the 3 trees in place, I'll flip over this panel, use a pair of scissors, and trim off the overhang. If you're ever creating a scene on your card and the clouds or trees or other items are just too big, you can always have them at the very edge and just trim off those extras. You don't have to include the full images. So once I have the overhang all trimmed off, I'll add this panel on some blue cardstock. And that blue cardstock piece is A2 size. I'll put ATG tape on the back of the stitched heart panel and also a little bit of glue since this does have that faux stitch detail. I like to use a little extra adhesive just to make sure it lays nice and flat. Now I'll add more adhesive on the back, put my card front onto a card base. All of my cards in this video are American Standard A2 size. 5.5 inches by 4.25 inches. Now I'll add the flying ladybug, and I'm putting her in the gap between the trees. For a sentiment, I've already stamped and cut this out. You're so fly. The ink color is Catherine Pooler's On the Lake. I'm adding the sentiment over the 2 trees in the lower left-hand corner. But before adhering them down, I'll put some scrap cardstock pieces on the right and left side. I tried with just 1 piece, laid it on the trees, but decided I needed 2 pieces on each side to keep it nice and level. Once those scrap pieces are in place, I'll put glue on the back and add the sentiment. And before that glue dries completely, I'll make sure the sentiment's on nice and straight. For a little extra detail on the clouds, I'm adding some white enamel dots. These are from Waffle Flower. It's their clean and clear enamel dot set. I'll put 3 on the lower cloud on the left side and then 2 on the right cloud. Then for a final finishing touch, using my white pen and adding those 3 little polka dots on the ladybug's cheeks. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. This is one of my favorite cards from the set. The ladybug looks so happy flying above the trees. Now moving on to card design number 3. I am using a card sketch for inspiration. This is from Mojo Monday. It's sketch number 376. I selected 3 pattern papers from Echo Park's Little Ladybug collection. That top piece, I used the leaves, strawberries, and teeny tiny ladybugs. And then the wider piece at the bottom, I'm using the red and white striped. I'll add both of these on some black cardstock. So those 2 pieces together are 5 1/4 inch by 4 inches. And the black cardstock layer is 5 3/8 inch by 4 1/8 inch. For the narrow strip going across the card, you could use ribbon. I'm using some pattern paper, selected the black and white polka dot paper. To adhere that strip down, I did put some clear double-sided adhesive tape on the back side. For a little bit of separation and shine between the 2 pattern paper pieces on the background, I'm using more Love from Lizzie peel-offs. This is the pinstripe style in black, and I'm using the narrowest width. I'll be covering up a large area, so I only need to use some small scrap pieces of the peel-offs. I'll put adhesive on the back, add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. For the large rectangle, I'm using some light green cardstock. Put adhesive on the back, adhere it on the left side of the card. I'll be adding a stitch circle die cut, and I use some white shimmer cardstock for the circle. I'll put glue on the back, add it in the center of the green rectangle. And this card will feature another flying ladybug. This one's facing right. I've already assembled it. I did pop it up using more foam dimension, and I'll adhere the ladybug in the center of the circle. For a sentiment, I've already stamped and cut this out. You're spot on amazing. Using the outline dies, I did cut out another piece, and I'll glue the two pieces together, offsetting them slightly so you can see just a peek of that red underneath the sentiment and on the left side. I'll add the sentiment on the right side of the ladybug, but before adhering it down, I'll put that scrap piece of cardstock behind the sentiment, just on the area where it goes off of the green rectangle piece. For embellishments, I'm using Jaded Blossom's original Embellishment Cluster die set. I selected the twinkle stars, and I cut these out from some black glossy cardstock from scrapbook.com. I'll add 3 of the twinkle stars on the right side above the sentiment and 2 in the lower left-hand corner. And I'm using the largest and the medium size of the twinkle stars. Jaded Blossom's Embellishment Cluster die sets are still some of my favorites, and they have a wide variety of different shapes. Since there are 6 dies welded together on one, it makes it super easy to quickly cut out a bunch of embellishments. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. I have 4 more card designs to share with you, although I did not record the process. For this pair of cards, I used Jaded Blossom's Triangle Card Matte Die. I added 2 of the standing ladybugs, used red glitter for the hearts on the antenna, and I used black glossy cardstock for the scallop oval die cut. The ladybugs look so happy, I thought it would be perfect for a birthday card, so I added the sentiment, "Happy Birthday, Little Lady." My next card features another flying ladybug, and the "Hello Lovely Lady" is a sentiment from the freebie stamp set, Fluttering By. And for this card, I did use a sketch for inspiration. It's from Freshly Made Sketches, number 722. And I do have the sketches pictured on my website. The next card also features a sentiment from the freebie Fluttering By stamp set, Fluttering By to wish you a magical birthday. And I did use a red marker to color in those 3 little hearts and the ladybug. This card, I also used a card sketch. It's from Mojo Monday, number 543. And for embellishments, I used some teal heart shape sprinkles from Doodlebug Design. My last card features not only a ladybug, but also a honeybee. The honeybee is holding a teal tulip, and I added the sentiment, "For my love bug." The little flowers in the grass are from Jaded Blossom's Spring Embellishment Cluster die set. This is another favorite card of mine from the whole set. I also assembled 2 of the MDF pieces. I have the standing ladybug wearing the heart-shaped sunglasses, and then the flying ladybug on the hang tag ring, and I had to make a pink ladybug. Jaded Blossom does have an MDF Standing Base die, so you can cover up that little wood piece. For the base of the standing ladybug, I used some silver holographic paper. And using the new Octagon Treat Box St. Patrick's Day add-on set, I did make 1 treat box. It's the cute gnome. And if you're interested on seeing how to assemble the Octagon Treat Box, I will add a link at the end of this video to a previous video where I showed the assembly. Using the new dies, I did assemble the little front piece for each of the boxes. So I have the rainbow going into a cloud, the rainbow going into the pot of gold, and then also the leprechaun. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, if you're not into the treat boxes, you can add these little octagon pieces on your card. So here's an A2 size card base, and you can see all the different shapes fit just fine, even the larger leprechaun. And Jaded Blossom has several fun add-on sets that go with their Octagon Treat Box die. I just did the very basic to show the fun images you can make on this set, but you could embellish them, add some sentiments, put a little tag. If you're making the treat box, you could fill it with all kinds of candies or small gifts. Now here's another look at the 17 cards and projects I made using Jaded Blossom's brand new February 2026 release. The new Ladybug theme is so fun. I think I ended up assembling 12 ladybugs plus a honeybee. I had so much fun with this release. Plus, it got me to pull out the little ladybug paper pad that I've had in my craft room for a couple years now. Jaded Blossom never disappoints with their amazing releases. I look forward to them every single month. If you are interested in any of the products I used in this video, I do have links in the description box below. And don't forget, you can always save by purchasing the full release bundle. What theme do you think Jaded Blossom will have next month? Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.